How does a boy from a tiny, remote island town grow up to become one of a nation's most loved presidents? Well, today, we're digging into the childhood of Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam, looking at those small, almost hidden moments that really shaped the great leader he would become.
It's a question we all wonder about, right? How do people become great? We see the final picture, the success, but as Kalam's own story shows us, greatness isn't born in a single big moment. It's built, piece by piece, in the everyday experiences of childhood. And that, right there, is where our story starts.
So let's take a journey back in time to Rameswaram. It's an island town, a place where you can just imagine the air is full of tradition and the sound of the sea. It's here, in this community, surrounded by his family, that Kalam's journey really began.
Now just look at this. This image really captures the incredible spirit of Kalam's childhood. You're seeing the Hindu festival of Sri Sita Rama Kalyanam, and guess whose family was responsible for arranging the special boats to carry the sacred idols? Kalam's family, a Muslim family. And get this wasn't a rare thing. This was just normal. A beautiful, seamless blend of faiths was the backdrop of his entire childhood.
You know, in his own words, Kalam points to the real secret ingredient of his life, a very secure childhood. And notice what he says, materially and emotionally. It wasn't about being rich, it was about having this rock-solid foundation of love and support that gave him the freedom to dream big without fear.
So where did this security come from? Well, it wasn't from a big bank account. It came from the priceless values his parents, Jainalabdin and Ashiama, lived every single day. We're talking about honesty, self-discipline, and this deep, genuine kindness that they showed to everyone. I mean, they often fed more outsiders than their own family members. His childhood wasn't rich with things, but it was overflowing with what actually mattered. But that peaceful, predictable life in Rameswaram was about to get a shakeup. The sounds of World War II were echoing, even on their small island. Now, war brought a lot of hardship, but for a young Kalam, it also brought something totally unexpected. His very first job.
And you know how it started? With tamarind seeds, of all things. He was just 8 years old, and suddenly there was a demand for them because of the war. So he collected them and sold them. But his first real job came when the war forced the train to skip its stop at Rameswaram. So newspapers had to be thrown from the moving train. His cousin Samsudin needed help catching the bundles, and young Kalam was the man for the job.
And his pay? 1 anna. Now, to us, that sounds like nothing. But for a little kid earning his own money, that single coin felt like a treasure. It was more than just money. It was the first delicious taste of independence. And listen to this. Even 50 years later, he could still feel that surge of pride. That feeling, that was the real payment. It was a lesson in self-reliance and dignity that stuck with him for his entire life. Pretty incredible, right? But, not all childhood lessons are happy ones. Kalam was about to come face to face with a much harsher side of the world, a painful moment that would challenge the beautiful harmony he had always known. Okay, so I want you to picture this. You're in a 5th grade classroom. In the front row, you have a Muslim boy wearing his traditional cap, sitting right next to his best friend, a Hindu boy wearing a sacred thread. To them, this was just Tuesday. They were just 2 friends. Simple as that. And then a new teacher walks in, and he doesn't see 2 friends. He sees something wrong, a violation of the social hierarchy. And in an instant, he tells Kalam to get up and move to the back bench. He just shattered their world. Kalam said he never forgot the image of his friend, Ramanatha Sastry, weeping as he walked to the back. Absolutely heartbreaking. But this is where the story takes a turn, because this injustice was not going to be ignored. Ramanatha's father, who was the high priest of the Rameswaram temple, heard what happened, and he summoned the teacher. And he told him, in no uncertain terms, that he must not spread the poison of social inequality in the minds of children. He demanded the teacher either apologize or leave the island, and the teacher did. What an incredible lesson in standing up for what's right. So that was a very public lesson in tolerance. But one of the most powerful lessons Kalam ever learned about breaking down barriers happened in private, in a person's home, all thanks to his science teacher. So let me introduce you to Sivasubramanian Iyer. Now, he was an Orthodox Brahmin, but Kalam called him something of a rebel. This was a man who was actively trying to break down the social barriers that kept people apart. And he saw something special in Kalam, a spark he wanted to fan into a flame.
So one day, he invites Kalam to his home for a meal. Now, this was a huge deal back then, a revolutionary act. But his wife, who was very conservative, was absolutely horrified. The idea of a Muslim boy eating in her ritually pure kitchen, she refused to serve him. So what did the teacher do? He didn't get angry. He didn't argue. He just calmly served Kalam the food himself, sitting down to eat beside him. What a powerful, quiet statement.
And here's the magic. A week later, Kalam was invited back. And this time, the teacher's wife didn't just stand by. She personally took Kalam inside her kitchen and served him food with her very own hands. Her heart had changed, not because of a lecture, but because she saw her husband's quiet courage and conviction. That's real change. So, as these huge changes are happening inside Kalam, big changes are happening outside too. World War II was over, India's freedom was just around the corner, and it was time for Kalam to leave the nest and find his own sky.
You can just feel the optimism in the air at this time, can't you? A whole country was about to start a new chapter. And filled with that same spirit, Kalam knew he had to go beyond Rameswaram to continue his studies. So, with a mix of excitement and nerves, he went to his father to ask for his blessing.
And his father's response? Wow. It wasn't a yes or no. It was poetry. He compared his son to a seagull, destined to fly across the sun alone. He understood that his son had to find his own way. It was the ultimate act of love, letting go. And to his wife, Kalam's mother, who was worried and sad to see him go, he quoted the great poet Khalil Gibran. He reminded her that our children aren't our possessions. They are life's longing for itself. They have their own paths, their own thoughts. Our job is to be the bow that sends them, like arrows, into the future. What a beautiful way to look at it.
So, from earning a single Anna coin to learning these profound lessons about tolerance and love, Kalam's entire life was built on the foundation of his childhood. The values he learned in Rameswaram became his compass. And looking at his amazing story, it just makes you stop and think, doesn't it? What are the small moments, the tiny little memories from our own lives that have secretly put us on the path to who we are today?